Hi everyone, welcome to our Cadette pre-workshop tutorial. And the main point of this tutorial is just to get you familiar with how we run our workshops and to prepare you for what you're going to be doing either this weekend or in the upcoming workshops. So just some reminders before the workshop. So you really want to have a laptop if possible, just so it makes it a bit easier to code. And the website we're going to be using is called WoofJS. And in the email you received with this video, you're going to have some directions to help you create an account. So once you go to the link in the email or on here, you have to click sign up in the upper left-hand corner, put in an email and a password, which you're going to be using as your username and password for all 3 workshops. And then you can log into your account before the workshop. So make sure you keep your username and your password somewhere safe so that you know it before your workshop. So now we're just going to get a bit familiar with WoofJS by doing a mini project. So the link for the project is also in the email. So if you want, you can take a minute to pause the video and go ahead to the link, and it should show something like this. It's about 20 lines of code, and it should have a white screen over here, some documentation, and a code section. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get acquainted with copying and pasting. So your documentation screen should look something like this or like this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go into this gray section that says sprites and backgrounds. Next, you want to click on background, and we're going to set our background. So you can see some code already in here. This is called a comment, and what this is it's just a set of instructions that the computer completely ignores, basically. And what we're going to do is we're going to set a background. So to set a background, let's say I want this first image over here of the beach. I would just click this copy button, and then it tells me that it's copied every time I click it. So once I want to paste it, I can either press Ctrl V, or I can right click on my mouse and click paste. So then once I do that, it should show your background over here and it automatically loads. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sprite, which is basically an image or a character in JavaScript. To create a sprite, we're going to go back to this page. So we were over here in the background section. So all you have to do is click back, and it takes you to this screen. So we're going to click sprites and backgrounds again, but this time we're going to go into the image section. And so here you can see a bunch of various images. It shows the image and then the code to create the image. So just scroll down until you find an image that you like. So for me, I really like this puppy. So instead of copying all of this code like this, I'm just going to press my copy button again. And then it says copied on the top. So I know that it's copied. So I'm going to go to line 8 directly under my comment lines, because I don't want to put my code on a line that already has text. So I'm going to paste this right in here by either right-clicking on my mouse, pressing paste, or pressing Ctrl V. And then your puppy or your sprite should show up on your screen. Now we're going to rename our variable as sprite. So it should show up in blue, which is the variable name. And we're going to type sprite. So we're just going to call it sprite, just so everyone has the same code. And especially when you're coding, it's super important to have the exact same spelling throughout. So if we spell it like this, we want to make sure everything is lowercase and spelled exactly how it is. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to line 18, and we're going to type where it says hide the sprite on the line below. So on the line below that, we're going to hide our sprite. So to do this, we're going to call a function. And we're going to talk about functions later in the workshops, but basically what it does is it basically calls a set of instructions. So we're going to type sprite, which is the name of our sprite. And we're going to say dot hide, and then put some parentheses. So make sure you know where the parentheses are on the keyboard, as well as how to kind of do this notation with the periods and the parentheses, because we're going to be using that a lot in the workshop. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to go all the way back to our home page again, click Sprites and Backgrounds, and then let's add a new backdrop by clicking the Backgrounds button and picking a new backdrop. So I'm just going to pick the next one down, copy it, and paste it in. So now, basically all this code does is that when my sprite is clicked, so when the mouse is down on my sprite, it hides the sprite and changes the background. So my sprite is gone and I have my new background. Another thing that you want to be super careful about is where you place your code. So right now, when you put your new background, you want to make sure it's inside these curly parentheses and the regular parentheses, or the code will throw an error. So just take a minute to finish this up. Feel free to pause the tutorial here if you need a bit more time to catch up with this. So just to wrap up, these are some reminders for during the workshop. So if you do have trouble during the workshop, you want to save your project and send the URL in the chat to ask questions so that we can look at your code. For instance, let's go back to this tab. To save our project, we would click this save button over here. So right now it's yellow, which means it's not saved. So I just want to make sure it's saved by pressing it and it'll turn green. The URL is this over here. You just have to click on it once, press Control C, or right click and then it should copy it. Since we also have a lot of people coming to our workshops, we really need everyone to send their questions in the chat instead of unmuting and asking questions, just so we don't slow the entire group down. We do have volunteers during every session who are available to help you during the chat, especially since you can send your project URL in the chat and everyone can look at it. And also make sure you're paying attention to other people's questions, because oftentimes people have the same question. So those are just some reminders for during the workshop, and make sure to practice the mini project just so you know what kind of stuff we'll be doing. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more in the workshop, but that was just kind of an intro, and I hope to see you at the workshop.